And good morning, 7:08 a.m., and we are back here with Dave King and Matt Martin on this Friday the 13th. And as promised, we have Councilman Jeff Griffith with us. Good morning, Councilman.
Good morning, Dave. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning.
And good morning on Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th.
Lucky Friday the 13th.
I didn't have to mention that, did I?
Hey, that's why you have me here.
We got it. Well, okay, big city council meeting last night. Did you guys talk about anything interesting, or is it all that stuff that just makes your eyes glaze over?
There were some eyes glazing over, including audits. We changed audit firms. It was time. We've had the same audit firm for many years. Not that they've done poorly as far as the comprehensive audit of the city of Lubbock, but we're now changing to a new company that actually is a outstanding firm, and so it's a good time. Speaking of eyes glazing over, it's time to put some new eyes on our city financial numbers, and that way it's and again, no offense to the firm that had done it for years, I think they were very good, and I voted to keep them previously. But this new firm, they're not new. They do 7 of the top 25 most populated cities in Texas, and they're outstanding at what they do. And so I'm glad to always see new eyes, not just glazed eyes.
Well, were there any issues that were raised in the audit?
We just hired them. This is
they haven't done an audit
right.
yet. Okay,
this will be the next 5 years.
Okay, gotcha.
That's one thing. Get past that. We didn't have a long council meeting. One particular issue that was brought up. Do y'all know how? I'll brag that to your listeners. I was instrumental in creating the food truck ordinance for the city of Lubbock a few years back. When I started that, I remember there was no more than 8 vendors in the room, along with the Lubbock Restaurant Association folks, to help determine what's best in formatting a food truck ordinance. Do you know how many we have today?
I know it's a bunch.
I have no idea.
Have a guess?
No.
120.
Wow.
Are permitted to operate inside the city limits. So they're not allowed in residential areas because you don't want that barbecue truck in front of your neighbor's house. But something that it keeps coming up, and Parks and Rec department brought up to us how many great parks we have, is that you can't have one at a regional park or sometimes a neighborhood park for a special event.
You can't?
You can now.
Well, good.
So we're now allowing that cottage industry's grown so much, and it's worked well, and a lot of folks enjoy. There's some great products out there that these vendors are doing. But so we had a change last night that in the council, I think we voted 6-0 to adopt this, is that the Parks and Rec department recommended some parks are big enough to handle some food trucks.
So with that, do you have a, let's see, they said that y'all are going to, is that just a first reading?
That is.
Okay. So how many?
Well, let's see. That one may not. Yes, that is first reading.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Matt.
So
we'll have to vote on it 2 weeks from now. Yeah.
Okay, and y'all will bring it up 2 weeks from now again?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just know the AG said it'll be brought up at a later date, and I was wondering if it was something y'all were going to push through quickly or something that was going to take some time to get through. So
because it's an ordinance, it takes 2 readings, 2 votes. Yes.
All right, and something else that was interesting, and I don't know if, but apparently the mayor during that said something.
Well,
let's see. He said the capitalist spirit may infect these guys or have potential to infect them, and we're going to have to remind them of the ordinances. What was he talking about at that time? Was he talking about that maybe they overstepped their bounds?
Okay.
Is that?
Let's
that the worry?
Just say,
is that the worry that they'll overstep their bounds?
I think that was probably what Mayor Pope's concern was. In that, let's say you've got Jeff's taco truck, and we don't want it. You don't want it just to park in front of Clap Park Pool every day, all day. Mm-hmm. It doesn't become a fixture. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because we're not allowing 15 of them.
Yeah.
Just to park. So I think thus there's still a 200-foot minimum from a residence. Mm-hmm. Okay? So that's for all of our houses to not hear that generator going and the smell of barbecue. No offense, 24/7. But the other thing is that we have a 2-hour maximum. So you can't just, for lack of a term, graze your vehicle there every day. So you're still moving around. That allows other food trucks to get in there too. So we don't overpopulate.
Right. So with the, let's say, the 2-hour minimum or 2-hour maximum, they can come for lunch. They leave. Can they come back for dinner?
That's a great question. If it's 2 hours per day.
That's the question.
Now you're going to make me read.
I'm sorry.
Maybe you have to get back with us on that one. But I am told by my son, who has some insight into this, tells me that these food trucks, in fact, he was pitching me on this the other day, was telling me that these food trucks are just phenomenally popular in Lubbock. And if you're telling me there's now 120
permitted.
120 permitted food trucks, that tells you that they're obviously popular. And if I'm not mistaken, aren't they on the lot down at Sutherland's every Saturday?
I believe so. And
there's maybe dozens of them.
Let's talk about that, because you've got Sutherland's is it's obviously on 50th Street, and they've got big parking lot, and they've got placement they're not close to a residential. And so that's Sutherland's acknowledging and allowing that particular vendor to be there. Then that's permitted. You pay $250 a year to be permitted by the city of Lubbock. They go. Our citizens need to know that they are checked just like brick and mortar restaurants. So as far as environmental health, they are held to the same standard, y'all, that McDonald's and Burger King are, or any other restaurant.
We have a caller that asked, has anyone thought about the ice cream trucks and how are they different?
It's a great question. Ice cream trucks been grandfathered for years in this city, and
they serve a different purpose.
It is totally different. But ice cream trucks is, that's a great question. I don't have the historical data on it, but what's the difference between a snow cone, shaved ice truck versus an ice cream truck?
Okay.
Well, the difference is the ice cream trucks just have freezers that have pre-packaged ice cream. I don't think they actually make the ice cream or scoop the ice cream even. I think that they don't even touch it. It's pre-packaged.
So
right?
so there's no process to it.
Right.
And I think that's probably the difference in the way it's permitted.
Okay, it's
7:17
now. Quick break, and we'll be right back with more of Councilman Jeff Griffith. News Talk, 95.1 FM, 790 AM. We are KFYO Mornings. Dave King, Matt Martin here. We have a texter this morning that says, speaking of people eating at the parks off food trucks, please don't park your personal vehicles on the grass of the city parks. Walk. Stay off the sprinklers. Keep your car off the green space. Okay. I think you get a ticket if you drive your car out on the city park.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
And then another texter this morning says, could Councilman Griffith explain why he didn't come out publicly against the recent AJ editorial cartoon depicting police as racist murderers?
I need to see it. I heard about it, but I've not seen it.
Have you not seen it?
Yeah.
And then one that says, did you hear Lubbock Mayor trying to stifle capitalistic entrepreneurship. You addressed that a while ago, didn't you?
Well, I don't think he was trying to stifle anything. He was talking about. I think the way he said it was not the smartest way to say it, but what he was trying to say is that everyone needs to be paying attention, making sure that people aren't overstepping their bounds.
Okay, I've been waiting.
I think that was the intent. Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree.
I've been waiting to talk about the sign ordinance. We talked about it yesterday at length. Of course, the city is being sued by a billboard company.
Yes.
For your sign ordinance and their lack of ability to obtain sign locations. And, of course, this is something I've been in the advertising business, as you know, for the last 50 years in Lubbock. So I was there when when the city came up with this sign ordinance in the 70s, probably, late 70s. And at the time, I remember it said, whether this is true or not, I don't know, but I know it was said that Lubbock had the most restrictive sign ordinance in the nation. Now, I know that here in the last few years that has been changed. It's been revised a little bit, and you've become a little bit more lenient. But my opinion is it's like we have only a small number of billboards that you see, like on I-27, for example. Now, my opinion, different than some of the callers and some of our listeners had yesterday, but if you're driving through Lubbock on I-27 and you've never been here before, and you're not aware of Lubbock, you see no signs that say, stop at the IHOP, or stop at this restaurant, or stop and spend the night here at the Ramada Inn. It basically is sending the message that there's nothing to see here, move on along. That's my opinion. And I would like to see more billboards around town. And I'd like to see I know that it's difficult, particularly like on 34th Street. It's probably better now that it's been remodeled, but it's difficult to find an address of where you're going. People drive along slow; they impede traffic looking for an address, and it's actually more dangerous. So those are just some of the things that I had in mind about the sign ordinance. I would like to see it revised again. Your thoughts?
First of all, Dave King, I respect your opinion highly because you have been in this industry for decades, and so you understand it better than most, and your eye is tuned towards advertising. And so I appreciate your viewpoint. Being a small business owner, I get it. I totally get it, what you're talking about. And, the other part is that it's not just about beautification. I think public safety has to be brought into the equation. There's some parts of this I can't discuss because, in fact, this one particular entity that sued the city about the billboard issue has sued us personally. So there's some of this legally. I apologize to the listeners. I really can't address as well as I'd like to, but to the point of it, should it be reconsidered as far as the entire the signage issue? All that ordinance, like I say, you've got a great tuned eye to this for decades, and you've seen how it affects business. So I never say never on that component of it.
It has a very negative.
We have changed something. I was able to be involved in was that we allowed mobile billboards,
which is why you see the box trucks all up and down 34th, 50th Street that have
and I knew that was going to happen, Matt, and so I voted for that. I will tell you that when we did that, the one reason I voted for it was that we could make sure that there wasn't noise and oversized trailers with it. So we kept a size, if you will, and I don't remember the exact parameters. I apologize. It's been 3 years ago, but if memory serves me right, I think it was 3 years ago. But the you do see them. And, originally it was just a couple of them for Tech football games. And so there is mobile. But those are on the streets, not on property. So it's not
no, they park them in front of their property and they move them around every now and then.
They have to move them, and they can't be in residential areas.
But the thing, I guess my question is, wouldn't it be better for them to have a seeable sign than to have all these box trucks parked up and down? I mean, wouldn't, as far as beautification of Lubbock, as far as how Lubbock looks as you're driving down 34th or 50th Street, wouldn't it be better to have actual signs?
Yeah, 30 seconds here. Let's hold you over to the next. Can you stay over for the next segment?
If we have more coffee.
Okay, we'll give you some more coffee. I think
great coffee this morning, guys.
You're allowed one more cup.
Thank you.
Isn't that right, Jody? Okay.
Thanks, Jody.
We'll be back with more of Councilman Griffith after this. And we're back. Dave King, Matt Martin on KFYO in the mornings here, 7:36 a.m. And again, back with City Councilman Jeff Griffith, who talking about covering a lot of topics this morning. Let's see, what were we talking about? Sign ordinance. Yeah. Did we say about everything we wanted to say about the sign ordinance?
Because I asked the question. Okay, so we've got box trucks everywhere now. They have to move them back and forth, but they still park them right in front of their business so that you can see that their business is there. Especially I see them in some of these places that might have businesses that are kind of backed up behind another business or whatever. Wouldn't it be better to have, as far as beautification of Lubbock and whatnot, for them to have a sign out there instead of them having box trucks everywhere?
That they move back and forth just enough to,
just to keep the sign out there.
I agree. And there is please understand that what we're talking about is sign ordinance. There's also, from a planning and zoning component, because we're going through comprehensive land use plan, that's becoming all new. And as that plan changes, maybe it's time to consider sign ordinance. But billboard usage comes under not necessarily sign ordinance as it does specific use zoning. And so it's part of a zoning question, not just a sign ordinance question. And there's but as far as what you're talking about, Matt, and that's why somebody with Dave's knowledge, he's got great knowledge, literally decades. I wouldn't say how many decades, Dave, but we have, people that in our community that could help us determine this. And so, I think that's a very good discussion point. Again, being a small business owner, and I know exactly what you're talking about people will park a small box truck and then relocate it. I don't do that in front of mine. And, we've got digital signage all over the city. It's not fascia mounted. The way the sign ordinance is, you can have digital electronic signage, but you can't put it on the face of a building. We addressed that last year.
So the other problem that you have is something like, let's say, a moving cell or whatever kind of cell they have. They can't put a sign on the outside of the building. They can only put it on the inside of the building for something like that.
Yeah, you can hang a sign on the inside of your showroom,
but not the outside.
Right.
Yeah, because then it becomes part of the square footage,
right,
that is applicable to the sign ordinance.
Yeah.
On exterior signage.
Well, let's mention this text messenger this morning. Pretty clever here. And I think we might have some agreement here. How about one sign on major highways as someone would enter or leave town, like they put up in Interstate in Amarillo? It says telling liberals to keep on driving. You saw that, didn't you?
Yes.
They put the sign on, I guess it's on
I-40.
I-40.
Yeah.
Said,
not chanting.
Liberals, please keep on driving on I-40 until you leave the great state of Texas. And they had to take it down. I don't know. What do you think of that?
I'm not going to get into that discussion.
But you might not.
I think
that's probably a topic that you just soon avoid.
But let me put it to you this way. it is a free country, and the ability to make your city better. Everybody's got a different thought on it. One thing that I thought was a great way for Lubbock to promote itself is something that some of our business leaders did on their own. Was Lubbock is the friendliest city in America.
How about lucky me? I live in Lubbock.
I still love that one.
I do too.
I've got some of stickers.
We have another one that said if the signs are too loud, will it violate the sound ordinance?
Yes. if as far as that mobile billboard, yes,
I guess so. Yeah.
There is a noise component to that, but I understand what they're saying as far as too loud. Yeah, loud is in color.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we have another texture that says, and they're exactly right about this, but that's what comes with size. Big stores have an advantage because the allowable sign size is based on storefront size, and that's why Best Buy can have a bigger sign than Radiolab.
That is correct.
That's part of the deal.
Yeah, and that was I think back in the 70s something that was considered in that original sign ordinance. Absolutely, because the way they were doing, especially the gas stations.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, remember that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Well-
let's go ahead and take a break, and then when we come back, we want to talk about the animal shelter and what's going on with that.
Okay. Back after this. Okay, I'm back here on KFYO Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin, with Councilman Jeff Griffith, and we're talking about 4th on Broadway. We're talking about just about everything. Let's see. I do want to bring up plastic bags. We had this conversation, what was it, yesterday? Matt is very against the city passing any ordinance to end the use of plastic grocery
Not only
bags.
that, the state of Texas says you can't end the use of grocery bags. So
Yeah, what do the state of Texas know? Anyway, I think it was Austin that tried to do that.
there's been a few cities that have done it.
And the state of Texas court said you can't limit plastic bags. I don't know why. They're a nuisance, and they're a danger. And that's my thing. I would like to see us in plastic bags in Lubbock, but I guess that's not something that's going to come up before the council.
It's called the right of the
it.
business.
Yeah, I doubt that will come up. About the biggest thing I know about that, y'all, is that we had to put a pretty sizable barrier fence at solid waste north of the city because when you bury trash, and we every once in a while in Lubbock we have, guys, if y'all didn't realize this, every once in a while we have a little bit of breeze, which makes those things airborne.
Yeah,
and they become, and so we had to put a pretty good fence up.
Well, see, that's what's different
solid
about
waste,
the plastic
so that
bags.
because those plastic bags were flying out of the.
Yeah, there's a difference between
onto
the
somebody else's
plastic
property.
bags and the paper bags. Is the plastic bag weighs nothing, and so you can just make a puff of wind on it, and it takes off like a parachute. Yeah. And they wind up in the trees. They wind up in any vacant lot that has vegetation on it. It's full of plastic bags, and it's a nuisance. And I wish there was some way to just do away with them.
Okay, so we don't have enough time to keep talking about plastic bags.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Dave, but we need to talk about Lubbock Animal Shelter. They gave a progress report, and apparently they've got some amazing numbers.
Unbelievable.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about what's going on over at Lubbock?
Matt,
Animal Shelter?
thanks for bringing this up. We did, you definitely like to beat your chest, and it wasn't me, but the new regime at the Animal Control Department, they have done magnificently in the past 6 months in changing our, what, quite brutally honest, what we call kill rate. We were in the 30%, so we had a lot of animals losing their lives. And now adoption is way up. Now I think the number was 97% of animals picked up or saved, either adopted or recovered by owners. We have a cleaner shelter. We're more. There's not as much diseased animals there. They've reformatted the building. They are very proactive in their approach to getting the animals microchipped so that they can be recovered by their owner. So it's incredible the turnaround that we've seen in that department. And again, all we ask is that from a city council standpoint that we were one of the worst in the state. Now we're already one of the best in the state. And this is an ongoing process. Because we're growing, we definitely are growing in the amount of animals too. But there is a huge, it's a change in attitude. And I applaud those folks yesterday that we should have given them a stand ovation after this report because they've done great. These people work very hard, and I think that their passion has come out, and it exemplifies that things can be changed with the right folks at the helm.
So one thing we've asked every councilman that's been in here before we run out of time, y'all are going to be getting a pretty significant raise, as not you personally, but the city, from the 7% or so that
5.19 probably
is what you think is going to be after all the.
I think 5.19.
But anyway,
jump ahead of you.
So even at 5.19, it's almost y'all are going to get a lot more coming in than y'all had last year. Are y'all going to look at lowering property taxes at all because of that?
I think that'll be under discussion. I think you have to look at the entire before you make a commitment. You always look at it. Absolutely, can it be done in a growing city? I think that's the real question. It depends on. Let's go back to what local government should be: wants versus needs. Yeah. Wants versus needs, and what's a need? What's a want versus how many dollars are available by sales tax and property tax revenue, because that makes up the majority of the general fund. And I think sales tax is going to be up, and I think obviously property tax is going to be up. We don't have a exact yet, but the good news is, and I'm excited that we will start having budget workshops in the next 2.5 weeks. It'll start, and there'll be a whole week of them, y'all, and by department, and then we'll get actual numbers on what those dollars are.
So something else that the city has talked about potentially doing, they haven't talked about it in regards to this, but could this be a good time for y'all to look at the stormwater fees that are there and maybe look and see if y'all can lower those for some of these businesses and even churches that are paying large amounts?
And stormwater is always, and they're speaking of, there's a lawsuit on stormwater as we speak. So that's a topic to analyze. We'll look at stormwater, but I think the major thing that you've got to look at, from my standpoint, is fire and police. Public safety is always number one.
Absolutely.
Water, we're doing really good on water. I'm real proud of water. I'm real proud of Lubbock Power and Light, the way we're headed long term with the move into ERCOT. So we've got some really good things happening. But, yes, we're going to analyze every department. There is no doubt with our city manager, the way he's doing the budget workshops, we'll be able to really do deep dives into every department and see needs and wants.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up. It's been very interesting this morning. A lot of good information.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Councilman Jeff Griffith,